Angle. Peace. Okay. We have talked about the subject righteous anger. Well, that kind of came all twisted. And I was wondering if anyone has a perspective and an idea of what they think or what righteous anger is to them. Because I've been analyzing this and going through it. And for me, it's like you get mad over something like someone hurting you in the intention, or I can say like someone screwed your car up and you're mad because you got the right to be mad because someone did something to you that was evil or not nice. But then when do you not cross the line and it turns into toxic anger and you stay on that same path? Because the fact if you fuck my car up, I have the right to be mad at you in the righteous anger way, actually the healthy anger. But if I keep on staying mad at you, then it's toxic and I'm no better than you. And it's just a fucking car. I mean, I don't know. You got anything?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So like, again, this is something that we previously sort of touched base and talked about. In my perspective and in my point of view, right, I've experienced this. Like, I think it was yesterday, right? We're talking about this, that I'm part of this group, and it's a spiritual group where the lady, she seems to be very experienced. She even has her like spiritual card. I didn't even think this existed, like a spiritual like society in London. So she has like her card and everything. And so for some reason,
Wait, can I stop you? What is a card?
the card, so it's literally like a ID card for like a spiritual society in London.
Oh, that's interesting. That's conforming to a certain situation there. Okay, I'm not trying to correct you. All right, keep going.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like she comes in with a boom, and then she has certifications and she's written books and whatever. And so, I get it. She looks like she's been around the block. And so, but a lot of times, a lot of stuff that she says, I just don't agree, right? And I ask questions because maybe I don't see it in that perspective, and so we've gotten into a lot of arguments, discussions in the group. And she's very much like, no, 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 like we're not gonna have any warrior kinds in here. This is only of light and only peace and harmony. We're not gonna have any warriors here. And I said, I've always considered myself as a warrior, but I'm also very gentle and I'm an empath as well. So how can you be one and not the other? What can't you be both, right? So, she's very much saying how the group is created and very much harmony, and that she's going to protect the group, and basically any low vibration is going to get kicked out of the group, right? So I just started again asking questions, right? But then I got to the point where I was starting to get angry, and I'm like, remember I texted you and I was like, what's happening here, right? And then I realized that it really wasn't my anger. It was her anger that she was channeling onto me, because I was literally just sitting there being curious and asking questions. And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, obviously I needed to find my voice. And this is one of the things that I've been like doing a lot, like finding my voice and like just speaking and speaking up what I feel, right? That I feel to myself is right. And like, you know what? At the end of the day, she's right and I'm right, and I'm wrong and she's wrong, And like you said, when do you get to the point where it's like, okay, this is enough? Like, this is enough, right? Like, I'm not gonna sit there and, like you said, try to wipe your shit and you wipe my shit.
Not sitting there playing in each other's shit. Just wipe that off and
Yeah.
be on.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Remember I was going back and forth with you and sending you screenshots, and then you're like, I don't even know what's happening. And so I was like, you know what? All right. My soul sees you. Namaste. Time to walk away. And then that's it. It's just, to me, it was just, again, it's part of the whole separation, right? The whole separation, and it's the whole issue that humanity has. But I'm like, you know what? I don't have to win. I don't have to win anything. I don't have to win. There's no battle to win. All right. I'm like, namaste. And I just like, I'm going to walk away. And that's what I had to do. So I would just say that's to me righteous anger, right? And then it could have turned out into just like rage and just like, and I was like, nope, not doing that. So that's my perspective on that.
And you didn't stay constipated to the situation, which is toxic anger, I have to say, because and yeah, after we talked about that, I mean, you had your voice, you felt like offended in a way too, you know what I mean? But she kind of, for somebody that was speaking about being a certain way, she didn't accept you either. And that hurt you as well. And that made you get triggered in like a righteous anger, but then you have to watch yourself. But also, she, when we have a form of righteous anger or any situation, there's something for both of us or each person to learn in that situation. Even if you might walk away and you didn't feel validated, which you learned that you didn't need to be validated, but you were upset about it at first because she was telling you you weren't good enough to be in the group, that was your right to stand up for yourself, and you had the right to voice yourself. Like you said, what's right is it's she's on her path, but for her to say that and then to say she's this sort of person, that was wrong, or that was triggering. They're wrong. I mean, trigger is not a bad thing, it's a growth, but after she just kept on being that same way, you just walked away because you pretty much learned also that this lady is not who she says she is. Also, I mean, that kind of goes in circles, but weirdly enough, your righteous anger learned you a lesson,
Yeah.
both which ways, and of many lessons about being validated, being good enough, accepting, because in all reality, you're good enough as you are. You don't need to be accepted by anyone. But it was okay to question somebody because they were speaking out of terms of who they said they were. And in a way that was like the righteous anger, if like we're learning about what righteous anger is to us, these aspects, but you get what I'm saying, kind of.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. And like, obviously I could have pressed my foot even more if I really wanted to be honest. I could have kept going on and on. I had no problem, but I'm like, you know what? Why? Why? Why, MJ? Why did you want to keep pressing on? Why are you getting out of it? And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's my ego. I'm like, but that's okay. I was like, because I'm learning how to spot my ego, right? And there's that balance, right? Between like, it's my ego, but then I also need to find my voice, right? And even saying that, I'm like, and so I'm learning. And this is the only thing, right? It's like, I'm learning and I'm trying the best that I possibly can as a human. And sometimes I'm human and sometimes I feel like I'm the fucking goddess, right? And that's fucking okay. I'm not always going to feel one way or the other. Like it's always going to be, I feel like it's going to be always a mixed of both, because that's human. That's the human way of being.
Yeah, living in both realities, we can be up here in divine, but we can be on earth too and live in that duality. And like we've talked about before, the ego does help us be reborn and die many ego deaths. Like, regardless if it started out because you had your voice, it turned a little toxic at a point enough for you to check your ego, sit its ass down and be like, oh, hell no, my higher self. And then you learn something and then now you flushed it and you're done with it. So it's like a win-win. Nothing is a bad situation. It's just when you stay constipated it and you get angry and angry and angry because this person's not hearing that, you can't make you. You can't make like chocolate cake if they don't like fucking chocolate cake, you know, like, but it's funny how we learn that in so many different aspects in life, but we pick and choose, but it's in literally every fucking aspect of our life. Like, seriously, you know, just whatever. I'm kind of getting righteous anger now is a trigger of our ego to stop our ego. Like, I don't know. You feel
That's
anything
a
on that?
yeah, it's a good way to put it, you know. I mean, what, like my favorite YouTuber always says that her triggers are her best friends, right? Because that's how you do shadow work. That's how you're able to see and realize and be more aware of your behaviors, more aware of what you say, what you do, how you behave. Because once we start learning that, we're able to sit in the middle, right? Like there's always this polarity and this like we're able to once we realize our patterns and we're more aware, we're able to kind of dance with it and like sit in the middle, right? We're able to sit in the middle a little bit more and then a little bit more and a little bit more as we go on our path. And then it gets to the point where we're able to observe it and not let it affect us. Like we're going to be able to observe it, understand it, yeah, sure, experience it, but not let it affect us. So I've always said, like, well, not always, but as of now, I've said that the ego is definitely not our enemy. And even your mind, I feel like as being spiritual, like everyone talks about, like, no, it's because you have to tame the mind and like fuck the mind and like blah blah. And I'm like, dude, your mind is also part of you. Again, you're denying another part of who you are. The more you keep denying, the more you're gonna have to, the more you're just gonna keep getting the same lesson over and over, and it's gonna slap you, slap you, and slap you, and slap you, and it's gonna keep slapping you. So even when my mind runs wild, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, you went that way. That's cool. And then I'm like, you know what? I love you. It's okay. You know, you're part of me. You're part of like what makes me human. So why am I going to be angry that you went somewhere that probably wasn't very pleasant? Because that's just how my mind is able to comprehend a lot of like the stuff, right? Like my mind always has to give it that like meaning of like, oh, it's this, or what about that, or like what about this and what about that. And it's like it's just helping me process. So why am I going to be that angry? You know, I get frustrated, yeah, of course, but I don't get to the point anymore where I'm just like, I'm just like, okay, let me just take it back, and I still get anxious. Of course I still cry. I have all those human emotions, but now it's like it's not to the point where I can't not control them, but like you say, it's like we're walking on that water, right? Like Jesus, we're like trying to walk in that water the best fucking possible way. Like, and even
Yeah.
Jesus, again, he's our best example. I know me and you were really connected to Jesus, but I love him because he shows his very human sides, like
Mhm.
that. And then everyone's like saying that Jesus was like the perfect human, and it's like, okay, like I feel like, to me, that just doesn't sit right with me. I just think like perfection is just, again, it's more separation. And Jesus was all about not that. It's just like, can you guys stop that? Like I bet you Jesus is like up there, wherever he's at. He's just like, oh my God, I didn't get it. Like,
It's
I
like
did all that.
understanding all walks of life and every challenge situation. Like, we're all on our own original path. Like, even like we're going like that, walking with the said sinners and all this stuff. Like, nobody is really born righteous, if that's the right way to put that word. But for us to learn and discern and go through all these things, we know what to do and what not to do. And as explained, Jesus walking with everyone that was shamed and outcast. He walked with like pretty much all the outcasts, but he had that compassion and that empathy, but he listened and found out why it all wound down, domino effect to them. So for us to live life and to make said mistakes, which are actually growth, but us to learn from and not stay constipated to them and stuck on them, beating our head against the wall, is an essence of what Jesus is to me. It's trials and tribulations, learning from your mistakes, living the human experience. But for one moment, we think we know everything until we get knocked down and we realize we don't. And then all like it comes down to is acceptance and validation, which we don't need to be validated from anyone in any aspect of our life, even the way we dress, the way we live, and things that we have, because the material things has nothing to do with our integrity, our morals, our character, how we treat someone, who we are behind closed doors. None of that shit fucking matters. It's not saying it ain't bad, but who the fuck are you? Like in a righteous way, you know, like in a nice way, but like who thinks they're righteous and they're better than anyone else? Fuck it. I mean, which just then is like untangling a web of thought with me right now with the righteous word, you know? So
yeah, speak to your guys, man. Tell them to let it rip.
yeah, I could be on here talking forever. You know, I like to talk.
So do I. This is why we
Yeah.
do this.
But shit, man.
We do this.
Shit. Really, we don't need validation. We speak up for ourselves because we speak up for ourselves and we hold that boundary. We don't need to be validated. We don't need to be accepted by others. We just have to accept ourselves and know we are enough and know our intentions. But yet there's an untangling of the web and the cutting of the cords, because we got to cut from all the shit, the programming and the bullshit we came from, to be our true self, our true authentic self, and not give a fuck. And we see what other people have and we can aspire to have things similar, but we will never have what those other people have because we are not them. And everything is beautiful to enjoy the journey and not just look to the destination and find ourselves being envious of other people because we want what they have. No, they have something that we know we can get, but in our own way, in our own time, and not as we expected, and not as it looks for them, because it will be for us. Original, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. You know, the whole righteousness
And
thing, you know. And sorry, did I lose you? Are you still there? Brittany.
oh shit,
What happened here?
you totally froze up. Are we recording again right now?
Yeah, we totally. Hang on, let me just